Hello and welcome to Win the Weekend. I'm Matthew Milashevsky, but of course you can call me Milo. Today, something special. A member of numberball.com, and of course you probably know him as one of the most prolific daily fantasy players out there. Jeff Collins is joining us. Jeff, how's it going tonight?
It's going well. Excited to talk some cards, man. Mix it up a little bit. Usually we're talking about sports and betting and a little bit of DFS maybe sometimes, but cards is something new.
Yeah, we're going to obviously talk about the Super Bowl a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about cards, top shots, a little bit of everything here. Kind of get your thoughts and pick your brain. You're kind of an influencer in the DFS sphere, and what you're doing, I think a lot of other people are interested in doing and paying attention to. And I know you've kind of been doing some content and buying some cards on your own. So why don't we start there with cards then? Right now, sports cards are taking off like crazy, and I've been buying some. I bought a box Panini Prism. I bought some NBA Hoop. And I know that you've kind of been interested in it too. So what have you been doing with it?
Man, so first off, I kind of took a while to get into it. I had some people telling me, "Hey, check out cards. Cards are going to be exploding soon." And I pushed back for a while like, "Dude, cards seems to go in waves, and like sometimes they'll be popular and then they'll just crash back down. I don't see it." But then I started researching it a little bit and why cards are a bit different right now, and just really bought into it and went real deep into just researching, okay, if I'm going to approach this, how should I do it, and which players should I target and which brands, and how diversified should I be, all that kind of stuff. And didn't do a whole lot with actually buying cards until I felt I was researched pretty well. And since then I just been buying so many cards. I've been buying way too many cards probably, but it's ended up working out well because everything's just going up right now.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what this has turned into. Is it's become another investment wave, and I think you were, jumping in at the right time and kind of taking advantage of some of the things that you were seeing. So, what did you buy, or I guess I should ask, who have you been buying recently?
I think with cards, like there are two different ways to approach it, right? Like you can take the collector point of view with everything and just go get the guys that you like, that you're a fan of. And that's kind of what I started doing what I started off doing, because I wasn't as worried about making mistakes with those sort of things. Like, all right, I'm just now starting to buy stuff. Let me make sure I get some players like Calvin Johnson, right? Like Calvin Johnson, I didn't necessarily think was a good investment or anything, but I knew that if I was going to be messing around with trading cards, I was going to want to have like my favorite player all time. So let me buy a Calvin Johnson card. And I kind of started to buy my favorite players that way. But once I started to get a feel for like the buying process and shopping around and pricing everything correctly and all that, got comfortable with that. So when I started to focus on investing in players, and I think the best advice for anyone wanting to take that angle with it is to go after the biggest names. It's almost as simple as that. Is, hey, what do you think the best players in sports are? Okay, go get those guys. And so like Michael Jordan, like Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, like all those kind of guys that you just think, well, these LeBron James, even like these guys are the best, very clearly like Hall of Fame type players. Those are the cards that I've invested most of my money in. And I've played around with some other guys too that I think might have some upside, some rookies that aren't established, like Chase Claypool, right? But then again, that's Chase Claypool, also kind of a collector point of view with him, as well as some hopeful investment upside as well. But yeah, it's if you're investing, invest in the big names.
And so it sounds like you're clearly doing this for the long term and not the short term.
Yeah, well, I think there is upside in the short term and the long term. Most of these guys that I'm buying, like so Kobe is the name that I have the most of, the player I have the most of. I bought just a bunch of rookie cards of Kobe's, and there are a couple of those cards that I might flip. But the majority of all the Kobe I have, like I'm not planning on selling anytime soon. And it's not like I'm collecting the Kobe cards for my personal collection. It is with the idea that someday I'm going to sell those cards for a big profit, but just thinking that we're at the bottom right now, which is kind of what I've been telling people, that look, this is not, don't be worried about buying at the top with cards right now, even though it might seem like it. This is very much the bottom. I've been saying that for months, and sure enough, like things are going up literally 4x, 10x. um and it's, I still feel like it's got a lot of room to go up. So with Kobe, it's like, how many years before I sell him? I don't know, but I do think it's years. It's not like I'm trying to flip him in the next few months.
Well, if you wanted to, though, I mean, the Hall of Fame ceremony, which he will be inducted, is going to be coming up soon. I'm sure that's going to be a big boost as well in the future. You said Calvin Johnson is your all-time favorite player and you've invested in. I'm going to admit that when I was younger, my all-time favorite player in the NBA was Jason Kidd. And I have every single Jason Kidd rookie that existed from 1994, 1995. And I recently, of course, just like everyone else, dug them up and found them. And I was surprised that there are so many, considering now how few it feels like there are cards. But I don't really have a person that's like an all-time favorite NFL, slightly biased Steeler fan here. So,
Slightly, yeah.
okay, by slightly, I mean 1000% completely in every way, shape, or form. Fine, fair enough. So I'm also now have convinced myself I'm all in on Ben Roethlisberger coming back next year. It's going to work out. I've just decided it's going to happen. Don't give me that face.
I don't know. I'm looking through my cards right now because in front of me, I'm pretty sure I've got some Jason Kidd rookies that I just pulled out of a collection. I mean, you know that I've been going through and just buying old collections of people and then just trying to pull some cards here. I think this is one of his rookies. I don't know if people can see it, but there's a Jason Kidd for you, man.
I have that. I have that in silver with the Jason Kidd signature across the bottom. Like I said, and I have it in gold too from that set. Like I got all of them. Like I'm not kidding. Well, so I know you've been you've been looking for cards at kind of an unusual source. So you want to tell people what you're doing there?
I mean, I wouldn't say unusual sources, just every single source imaginable is where I'm looking, man. Like anywhere that could potentially sell cards, or you think, well, I don't think they would sell cards, but maybe like those are the places I'm looking. Like, I mean, some obvious places too. eBay is probably where I bought most of my cards, but you look on Craigslist, you look on in estate sales, and classified ads, Goodwill. I mean, wherever, man. Just I think there are deals everywhere right now. That I think that people are starting to hear about cards and that they're going up and they're realizing, oh wow, maybe my cards are worth some money. And people are just happy to get some money from them rather than actually go through all the cards and figure out, okay, well, how much money is it worth? So for the people that actually want to go through the cards, say some person has 1,000 card collection, if you want to do the work to see if there's some gold in there. I mean, it feels like I call it a gold rush, and it's like it's digging for gold because it's basically a treasure hunt. You're just looking through a bunch of garbage, hoping to find one of these rookie cards from one of these players that might end up being worth a little bit of money.
Okay, so let's say you do buy it. You do buy some cards. You find something that are worth it. So have you personally gone about grading anything, and do you recommend people buy graded versus ungraded? Well, ungraded, I guess they're calling raw, kind of out there. What are your thoughts on that? What are you thinking about that?
Yeah, until you spend your, I mean, I don't know, 2-3 months of feeling like you have researched the card market really, really well, you've got to start off with the graded cards. And even with that, it's not like you can just hop in with no research. Like you have to make sure you know what you're doing there. I did a beginner's guide on number ball that goes through like, all right, here are the 2 biggest, most trusted graders. There's also like a third in there. It's like 2.5 that are really respected graders. Here's what the grades mean. Here's how they compare to each other. But there are also like forgeries of the grading too, like of the actual plaques, where it's not really a PSA, it's a knockoff PSA, and you have to be able to know how to recognize those. And it's like, It might sound intimidating, like, oh man, I don't want to have to deal with all that. But if you just do a little bit of research, like with anything else, like with DFS, like with betting or whatever, you you're gonna become pretty confident in it. You're gonna know what you're doing. So put some work in, and I think that you're gonna be in a good spot.
Are you trying to say that whenever I click on Facebook Marketplace and I see the Zion, RJ Barrett, John Morant autograph that's listed for $5.55, that that's not real? No.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, or the reprints, where it's like when I first started looking at stuff, I didn't even know what a reprint was. I was like, "What's a reprint?" And you quickly learn that, hey, those aren't worth anything, so don't buy those. Especially, you're going to see a lot of Michael Jordan reprints of his 86 Fleer. Those things are just all over the place. And I mean, you know the story where I got one just in a random collection where I was going through a binder and it's like, oh, there's Jordan's rookie card in like perfect shape. And this was before I knew exactly what the fakes looked like, because I wasn't looking for Jordans. I was looking for Kobe's. You know, I knew what those looked like, but I didn't know hardly anything about Jordan's rookie. So I kind of got it. I mean, not kind of. I got excited when I saw the Jordan rookie, and I was like texting my friends who are big into collecting and would know Jordans and everything. I was like, hey, do you think this is real? Because it was the other thing too that had me excited and less skeptical was it was next to literally a wax pack up from that set was in one of the binder slots right next to it. So I was like, oh, obviously you opened it from the pack, right? Like, why else would you put the pack there? So it's hard to be skeptical in that situation, especially like he wasn't trying to sell it to me. Like, he's here's my binder of cards, you know, and that's it. He didn't say anything about the Jordan rookie. So yeah, I was pretty excited there for a second. And I researched, all right, well, what's a fake Jordan look like? I was like, okay, yeah, mine looks pretty fake to me. I'm still not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure that I've got a fake.
So then would you send it into grade to find out, or would you just kind of keep it for yourself?
Right now the plan is probably just to keep it, but I'll take it to like a card shop or something, someone that has seen a bunch of them, because the people I've shown pictures to and stuff, they're like, I can't say for sure until I see it in person. And it's like, well, until I get 100% no from someone, I'm not gonna throw it away or something.
Yeah, of course. Why not? And I'm sure you got it for a fantastic deal compared to what it
Oh
would
yeah.
be worth had it be if it was
Didn't
real.
even know it was there. Yeah, it was Shaq rookies and Kobe rookies is what I bought it for, and then like flipped through and found it. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, this might be a really good deal.
So all the Shaq rookies have had a resurgence this week. I don't really know what's going on. Do you think that is causing that to happen?
So I think that we're just seeing a wave of the best players in all the different sports start to climb, and it's because I think of the serious investors getting involved, where they're just targeting the best players in all of the sports, and they want to build their portfolios around that. And so you're just seeing, you know, when the PSA 10s sell for an increased price and start to double in price and everything, that just trickles down to the raw cards too, and you're seeing just everything shoot up at every level. It's not just PSA 10s, it's everything as an offshoot of that. And it's not even just a direct relationship between the grades of the cards, where if a card shoots up like the Michael Jordan, that okay, well, it's only just that exact card with the different grades. It's like that means that the second year Jordan ends up shooting up in value. That means the third year Jordan, it's like, and with Jordan especially, it's like all of Jordan's cards are going up, largely because of the interest in the rookie card, right? But it's crazy to see that. I think it's largely driven by the big money, talking about multi-million-dollar hedge fund type investing right now.
Well, everybody's trying to look to diversify, and whether it's buying a stock that Twitter's involved with, or cards, or of course the new darling of the past couple weeks, NBA Top Shots. I know we've had some discussions about this. I know the number ball team is pretty much, for the most part, all in. Even people you wouldn't expect to be joining in are in on it. So where do you stand on it? I mean, I know that you're involved. I know you've bought a couple of moments, but what are you thinking about it? Just, 2 to 3 weeks in.
Am I involved? I feel like I'm not involved. I've
You're a little bit, you can't say you're not involved. I mean, just because you've had some account problems and you've been locked out doesn't mean that you weren't trying to be involved. So I think you're kind of involved, right?
true. I was trying to be involved, but like I haven't been involved for like 2 weeks. So here's what I'll say about Top Shot. Top Shot, cool concept and everything. I think has more long-term value than short-term value, or that's what I thought in the beginning. I've been proven wrong that very clearly there's some short-term upside too, right? We've seen things really shoot up, at least temporarily. It's starting to come back down a little bit, it seems like, but I haven't been following it as closely because I've been locked out for almost 2 weeks now, a week and a half now, because they have people go through the KYC where they're trying to verify your identity if you perhaps make a large deposit like I did, or so. Although it wasn't even that big, I made a $3,000 deposit. So it's like I mean I don't know. Like apparently it's just thrown them into a loop, and they can't process it for whatever.
So,
It's supposed
so
to be 48 to 72 hours, and it's been a week and a half.
they posted a blog a couple of hours ago because they're going to drop some packs later tonight, they said. And in the blog, they mentioned that they have a grand total of 2 support people for the entire website that now has 40,000 users, and they're in the process of hiring more. So I'm not an expert, but I would assume 2 people, even if they weren't sleeping, could not possibly handle all those verifications, all the deposits, all the everything, all the account problems in any reasonable fashion or way, shape, or form.
What's the easiest thing to scale? Customer support? Are you kidding me, right? I don't. Okay,
I,
whatever.
exactly. And they keep falling back on, well, we're in beta. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and like I kind of had their back for that, like the pack release stuff where people were pissed that they couldn't get their pack because they released in the middle of the night or whatever. It's like like they don't want to get the site hammered. Like they're releasing in the middle of the night not to screw you over, but because they didn't want a bunch of people on the site. They didn't want you on the site, So like I get some of this stuff, and like I get the whole 72-hour thing, even though like that's a long time to wait just to have your account locked. But once it gets to a week and a half, like, that starts to test my patience. And that would be my warning to people. It's like if you are not going to be comfortable with having $3,000 or $500, whatever, however much money tied up to where you can't touch it. I can't withdraw it. I can't do anything with it. I've asked them. I'm like, hey, can you just refund the deposit till you get everything figured out? I can't even get a response from them. So that would be my warning to people: is if you don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, and it can get frustrating, wait, because I'm sure eventually they'll have it all ironed out and everything, and it is worth a shot to at least try it out and see what it is, because I understand the hurdle of, well, why would I want a moment, a video, a GIF of something I could just find on YouTube? Like I get it, like you're not some genius that came up with that, and like, oh yeah, what were we thinking? We didn't think about that. Thank you for pointing that out. All the people that want to point that out is like, see, I told you. Everyone knows that. You just got to get in there and experience it and see if you can buy in after that, because until then you're just not going to get it if that's your big hurdle. Like everyone has to get over that. Most people do. If you don't, I still totally get it. Like it's not like I think you're an idiot for not being able to get over that, but it's really not a big blocker for them right now. Like most people who try it out are okay with the fact that you can still watch the video on YouTube.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think you made a great point about, now I think there's no such thing as the word extra money. So I think a lot of people would say that they use extra money on things like this, but I don't believe in extra money. It's just you have money. So for most people though, if you're going to possibly have money that is going to be tied up for, and they even tell you right away, 6 to 8 weeks minimum before you can withdraw, at this point, you have to be prepared for that. I was a little bit skittish in the beginning. I put in $18 and bought 2 packs to start. And at the time, there were packs available everywhere. Now I wish I would have purchased a lot more, but I haven't pulled anything great, and I flipped that for, I have well over $500 in my account, just kind of sitting there waiting for something. more, I don't know, more packs, more higher levels, things that are rare that I can kind of go after. So, like you said about short-term investing, that's what I was kind of into it for, just because, you know, you don't want to be the last person who's there holding these moments with nothing to do, but I'm more than happy to be the first person through the door to check it out and flip them and kind of go from there. And some other members of the number ball team have been very successful flipping things for significant profit, buying things and kind of producing. And I'm hesitant but excited and kind of liking the concept in many ways. I don't know. It seems kind of strange, but I'm in, but I need more product. I think for them, they need to have product coming because people just get tired of sitting there being like, I can't buy anything, I can't do anything, my money's just sitting here.
Yeah, I mean, I think very clearly they want to have the product out there too. Like that's how they make money, but it's just can they get there or not, you know? Crossing my fingers for them. I hope they are able to figure things out, but this would just be a train wreck if they ruin this opportunity, considering how much interest they had. And a lot of it has died off. You know, you talk to people now and they're like they're just frustrated with the process. So hopefully those people come back. If it's a good product, then they will, right?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. 1 year from now, are people still buying NBA Top Shots? Are they trading them? Is it still going on, or has it died off and everybody's just kind of, eh? What do you think?
So I think it'll look a lot different than it is now. I think that you're not going to be seeing these explosions of, hey, I bought a pack worth that was $9 and it was worth $250 and it's worth $250 every time I buy a pack, and I post something for sale and it sells the next day and I'm 10xing my money, I'm 30xing my money. It's not like gonna be like that at all. It won't even be kind of like how the card market is right now, where things are 4 and 5xing really quickly. I think you're going to see little bumps up and down for the most part, and it'll be more reflective of the traditional card market and how it was before this big boom. So that's how I see it being in about a year or so. And then after that, talking about like 10 years after that is when you can see a lot more upside, I think, as the kids get older, I guess, and the older people aren't with us anymore. I think that you could see a shift towards the digital cards as opposed to the cardboard cards, and that's where I could see a shift in maybe 10 years. That's a serious one.
Yeah, give me a digital screen that I can put on the wall in my basement or my game room that just has my moments, and I can say, "Hey, look at what I have," and I can show people. Something that you can display like that, which this is clearly capable of. I think would be a very interesting thing to do in the future. I don't know how logistically that would work, but
Oh, that's yeah. Someone could make that in a week. Yeah.
see, and I think that has a pretty solid future. So, if you were telling someone right now they have $500, would you tell them Top Shots or would you tell them trading cards?
Oh, cards. Yeah, I mean, not even close. It's maybe 90-10 for no, it's got to be more like 95-97% of my money invested is in cards. That's that's just the way it's going to be short term. I'd imagine I was wrong about it having like that explosion at the very beginning here. I think Bales had a huge hand in that. I don't think that would have been there without Bales, but I think you could make money in the NFTs in Hot Shot, but with cards, it's very clearly going to be a target for people with a ton of money right now to go after these Jordans and these elite players.
So you said something very interesting about Bales maybe pushing this, and then I think he actually wrote a response I saw on Twitter that was like, listen, if I thought this was some great thing, I wouldn't have told everybody about it, and I would have bought it myself, and then left the scraps for everyone else basically. So do you think that like the DFS, the gambling world, people like yourself have an ability to kind of influence markets like that? Because I definitely feel like you do, and
Of course.
what you're saying. So do you think there are people that are out there that are, thinking about that as they're tweeting things or posting things, or
Yes. Not Bales. Like Bales was
no?
totally innocent in what he did. I totally am on his side with what he did. Like it's a really tough spot to be in, because it's like just assume that someone doesn't have some ulterior motive or something and they wanted to share what they were doing and provide an opportunity for other people to get involved in that sort of thing, how would you do it? You wouldn't have done it any differently, right? Like I try to come up with myself, okay, how can I share with people the cards that I'm interested in without it benefiting me? There isn't a way. I can tell people, hey, I'm buying a ton of Kobe's. If they go and buy Kobe's, my Kobe's go up. So it's, I mean, it's like there's no other way to do it. But and yes, like the people who get in after me are getting worse prices than me, but there's, it's not like they're bad bets or something because they're buying after I am, because I'm still buying Kobe's. I'm buying Kobe's every day, you know? So it's just a really tough spot to be in. It's something that I can't say that I figured out either. I am still trying to figure out what is the best way for me to provide value to people without coming up with, while setting myself up for as little criticism as possible. Because I mean, you know, some random person doesn't know, but you know, like I'm not trying to take advantage of anyone. I don't need to have my cards pumped up or anything. I'm not even planning on selling anytime soon. Anyone who takes my advice on who to buy is likely going to sell the card before I do. So it's like not even going to matter to my value.
Yeah, a lot of what you're saying, and I agree with you. You know, knowing you, I don't think you would ever do anything like that, and you know, never personality or anything like that. But it's interesting what you said about kind of like you buying Kobe's and saying, hey, you know, even if a friend asks, what are you buying? And they say, I'm buying Kobe's, there's a chance that the price might go up because other people are doing it. In a way, like you said, it's no different than in sports betting. Is, you know, a friend says, who are you on? And I've already made a bet in the morning of, you know, Team X -2.5. By the time they get around to it, it might be -3.5. And sorry, I got a different number than you. The number falls on 3. I win, you lose. But in this case, it's not like a, you know, a binary win or lose type situation, because, you know, the card is still, or the moment is still existing and it still has value. It's not like someone bought something and it goes to zero. You know, this isn't some sort of penny stock that's going to like fall through the cracks and go to nothing. And for the most part, there is still going to be retained value, and it's definitely an interesting spot, I think, for everybody to be in. And I think that the gambling and fantasy world is kind of looking for some of these alternative investments. And, you know, like I said, I am intrigued, and, you know, maybe
Yeah,
it's you, but I'm in. I'm buying more cards, and I'm kind of all about it.
well, it's not even like I'm going to give every single thing away too. Like for instance, here's a good example, right? So someone asked me, who I've been talking cards with, where did you buy that card? I got a really good deal on it. So I got a really good deal. If I tell him where I got the card, the next time I go to buy a card like that at that place, it's going to cost me more money. So if there's something like that that's going to directly cost me money, like I know for sure that I'm likely to pay more if I tell that person, I'm probably going to hold that back. But if it's something that is just like, so with the Kobe thing, we talk about, yeah, that is theoretically like raising the price of Kobe, right? But there's so many Kobe's out there. Like if I tell a bunch of people to still buy Kobe's, like it's probably not going to affect my next purchase, right? Like I don't have that big of an audience. Maybe for bigger influencers out there, it would, Gary Vee or something. Like I know he swings prices and everything, but it's like it doesn't hurt me to tell people that. So I'm not going to act like that. Hey, this is just some charity where I'm just giving everyone free money or something. If there is something that would hurt my money, like I'm probably not going to give that away.
I mean, that makes complete sense. And it's funny because everything you just mentioned could also apply to the GameStop stock thing of last week. Is, you know, you tell enough people, people get in, the price goes up, people get in later and later and later. But, you know, again, we're not going to use a perfect stock analogy because it's a little bit different. So, so you did mention a little bit kind of NBA, and I have to point out I had my best NBA night of the year. I won a small GPP, $600. You know, not big time, but for some of us that are trying to get better, it's still pretty good. And of course, I couldn't do it without being a part of the number ball team and paying attention. So my question for you though is, do you think being a daily fantasy player and kind of knowing some of these NBA players helps you in the card market at all?
Not really, unless you're just doing the short-term thing, trying to flip. And that's fine too. Like that's a totally different game than really what I'm focused on. I'll probably do a little bit of that as well, but um, so I'm trying to think of an example. So okay, so Chris Dunn is a guy I've kind of done this with, where I bought a Chris Dunn card that I don't think Chris Dunn's a Hall of Famer. Most of what I'm buying are Hall of Famers, right? Like the 90% of what I have invested in, that's Hall of Famers. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, all of those guys, Lance Armstrong lately. But the the guys like Chris Dunn, I'm not like delusional and thinking that he's a Hall of Famer. What I'm thinking is that he's hurt right now, and his card values are going to go up when he comes back, and that's something that I would try to flip at some point this season. So like there are those sorts of opportunities that are going to be out there for the people with the DFS mind, the people that are on top of the news and the players that are playing well and can project, okay, well, this player who's maybe not even incredible. So it's like a Julius Randle. If you could have seen that coming, you don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but you think that, okay, well, he's going to do better than people realize because he's going to play so many minutes in that system. So you buy him at the beginning of the season. He plays a ton of minutes, puts up a bunch of numbers. His card value goes up, and you're selling him at some point this season. You're not holding on to him long term. Those are the ways that you can use DFS and those kind of approaches to flip some cards.
Yeah, I had a sharp friend say to me, he goes, you know what I'm thinking is, he goes, CJ McCollum's hurt. He's been out. He goes, I feel like his top shot price is as low as it's going to get. He's going to come back. Portland's going to look better, maybe make the playoffs. He goes, I think I can maybe flip this for a profit. He's like, but there's only a series one base. And, I was like, okay, go for it. I think that's a great idea. So that's just kind of what spurred the idea, is that got me like, maybe there is something to this where you can kind of flip this real quick. And, especially with some of the younger players or some of the rookies, I think there's definitely an advantage to, like you said, like the DFS mind there.
He probably did it smarter than I did. I told people in our Slack to buy Lillard because Lillard's going to start producing a lot better, and with McCollum out, right? He's going to take more shots, he's going to score more, all that kind of stuff. And it's just partially bad timing. It was just right when everything crashed for Top Shot, and just all the values went down. But yeah, we made some Lillard buys that didn't work out that great. Just one more point of advice for people if they're doing Top Shot is focus on the cards that are rare. So still good players, like I'm talking about, like Hall of Fame type players. It's same thing as cards, but buy as rare cards as you can afford to do, rather than buying a bunch of cards that are less rare. I think that's the way that you're going to capture the most upside, is to get it as these small print things.
I agree 1,000%. Everything that I've turned around and flipped and sold has been, originally that was, there's one of 8,000, then it was one of 12,000, then it was one of 15,000. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to dump this Anthony Davis and take my $40 and move on from this and, prepare. I can't believe that I sold a Taco Fall limited edition for almost $40 just because I'm like, they just bought it because it's limited edition. I'm like, where there is no upside here. That's what I don't understand, is what is the upside of Taco Fall in this situation? None.
Still should be good players. Yeah, still got to focus on good players.
So I understand the rookies at least in that regard. So,
yeah.
All right, let's stick with the NBA here. So the NBA season's 20% over. I know you and I have talked. We've talked betting and who we've been into. I know we're long on the Warriors. We both have investments on them, and I think they're going to make the playoffs, and I have my make the playoffs wagers will more than cover my win the title wagers on the Warriors, kind of strategically set up like that. So 20% into the season, what have you gotten right so far?
LaMelo, man.
Yeah.
I mean, not like he was some super sleeper that nobody thought was going to be good, but like the level to which he's going to be good, I think I've kind of nailed, and that's with more limited opportunity than I figured he would get to start the season. Knew that coming off the bench to start the season was likely. Figured by now that he would have earned it. I think he has earned it, really. And the only opportunities he's getting to start is because of injury. So I think LaMelo is a big one that I nailed. I think Zach LaVine, another guy I was really high on. But and back to LaMelo too. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, well LaMelo, I knew LaMelo too. You could get like 4-1, 6-1 on LaMelo to win Rookie of the Year. Did you guys do that? Because that's it's not saying that it's an easy bet that LaMelo is definitely going to be the best rookie of the year. And only until very recently are people starting to admit that he probably is the best rookie of the year. At the beginning of the year is Wiseman and Halliburton and even Anthony Edwards at the very beginning. But I think it's very clear that LaMelo is the best rookie by miles, like not even close. And that's again where people probably disagree. But yeah, like Zach LaVine, I think Curry, another one. People are calling Curry washed. Oh my goodness, like people are out of their minds, man. But people ask me like, "Oh man, well, Curry's getting old, don't you think?" Like, he's a shooter, man. Like, what do you think is gonna happen to him? He's gonna wear a bit, but he's not gonna fall off a cliff. He's a shooter. So I don't know. There's a few guys.
And again, I have to thank you, LaMelo, on that GPP winning night for me for NBA, starring at point guard, putting up a 50 spot, and more importantly, checking off that achievement on DraftKings of a rookie 50 more points. I really need 300 crowns to keep me going, you know. But definitely, LaMelo is something that you nailed from the start. You were on from the jump, and I like what you said. And this is one thing that I always believe in: is if I have a sports take, I will back it up financially. I will bet it, and I have no problem doing that. Talk is cheap. You want to back it up with money? That's a different thing, which a lot of people are very hesitant to do, I think, at times. But, you got the receipts to prove it, and, we were there from the beginning, and we know that you were all about LaMelo. So now the other question is, who have you gotten wrong to start this year?
Yeah, I think that a few guys that have surprised me. Number one, CJ McCollum. I kind of just felt like his performance to start the season was just mostly random, like that. Well, that has to come down, right? And it never did. He's hurt now, and maybe eventually comes down after that injury. But I was just kind of leaving his. So I do the projections for us, right? And it's like you have a baseline projection for what a guy is, and you go off of that with your matchups and whatever else that adjust it day to day. But your baseline is like what you believe the player is. And it's like I just left that for a while, just not refusing to go up on him, thinking that, well, this is just random, right? So, and similar to that, Jaylen Brown too is just kind of taking a leap forward with his performance. He's my vote for most improved player, I would say. Like Christian Wood is great, Jeremy Grant are great, but they're good players on bad teams. Jaylen Brown's a good player on a good team. And I am going to weight that a lot more heavily with the stats than I will for those players on the bad teams. And from experience, like I'm a Warriors fan who watched a lot of like okay players put up really good numbers on just because they were bad teams and all the rest of the players suck. Like it's just not as impressive.
I understand completely. I will say for me, the biggest thing that I got wrong is, and this is more of a perspective, is the viability of betting the Detroit Pistons plus points numerous times this year in great spots. I thought they were going to be the worst team and have the worst record, which they still might be, but they ended up being pretty viable as a team to bet on, and I was kind of surprised by that. And then
they're the worst team still.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But the numbers have been
Yeah.
overrated on what they're getting every night. So
totally.
One of my best bets of the year is whenever they played the Lakers the other night. I was all Pistons. I had it. I got a great number before it closed, before they rolled someone out. Pistons ended up winning the game, which I didn't think they even had a chance to do, but I was very excited about it. So being a little bit right on that, but also being wrong. And the other thing that I'm way wrong is I thought Atlanta was going to be bad, and they're definitely going to be a playoff team. I know we had some discussions on this because, like you mentioned Chris Dunn earlier, I was like, I just don't see it. I don't see how Atlanta can be anything more than they were. I question them defensively. Of course, anytime Trae Young is out, though, they're going to struggle, but that's any team with their star. But they are better than I thought they were going to be, and I just was wrong on them completely.
Yeah, that was a team that we went back and forth a little bit on. I definitely was a Hawks believer. And so the Pistons were another team. I don't think it was you. I think it was Ian that liked the Pistons and the Wolves, right?
Yes, and I was like, I think the Wolves are going to be the worst team in the West. I think you
same. Yeah. So we've been right on that so far, but to Ian's credit, like they haven't had Towns the whole time. I still don't think Towns makes is gonna make that big of a difference. But you know, we've had some good calls. I'm trying to think of like a team that I've gotten wrong. So the Nuggets, will see. I thought that they were going to be. I think I took the under on their wins. They're 12-8 right now, so I think that they're on pace to go over. But if so, it's barely. They're the 4 seed in the West right now. I might end up being wrong on them. But the Nets look really good, and especially after the Harden trade, I think that they're kind of the favorite in the East. But I know that you've had a little bit of growing pains.
Yeah, definitely there are some defensive struggles, but you know, they can have stretches where they drop 20 points in 5 minutes like they did against the Clippers the other night. I had the Clippers in that game and I was like, they're up 5 minutes to go. I was getting ready to count my money. And then it was like three, jumper three, and one turnover the other way. And all of a sudden they were like down 10. I was like, what just happened? And this went bad. The other thing that I have done, I've added money. My other future from the beginning of the year was the Philadelphia 76ers. I had them at 24-1. I had a little bit more at 22-1. And I recently added more at 17-1 to win the title. I believe they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. And I believe they're going to come out of the Eastern Conference. And it was something that I picked before the year. And I'm kind of sticking with it for the most part. I'm riding with it. And I think Embiid could possibly win MVP. Is there anyone that you have added any futures on or have thought about it? And do you think I'm an idiot for adding more Sixers futures?
Well, I don't think you're an idiot. They're the 1 seed in the East right now. I would prefer the Nets, but another fun long shot that I bet that I made was the Hornets to win the Southeast Division, and they're tied for first right now. Is 60-1. 60-1, so to be tied right now with the Hawks, that's pretty good. You got to feel good about that. But as far as adding something, not really. It's not like I'm super confident in my Warriors futures right now. Their record with and without Draymond Green is encouraging because they've looked a lot better with him. But they've got Wiseman out right now and stuff. And a lot of this is going to come down to luck, which is why I was a fan of betting like the underdogs in these situations, taking the really long shots on the odds with the Warriors and the odds with the Hornets to win the division. Is a lot of the COVID stuff and just the injuries. It's gonna be random and add to the variance. And in that case, you want to be lower on the favorites and heavier on the dogs.
And I agree with you completely. That's why I just couldn't pull the trigger, you know, with the Nets at plus 350 to win the title when I'm looking at the Sixers at, 16-7-1. And I'm thinking, why not? You know, in a 7-game series, why could this not happen? Of course, Embiid could get hurt, fall off, whatever could possibly happen. I still believe they're going to get a buyout guy or maybe somehow acquire JJ Redick and add an extra shooter in some way, shape, or form. So I am hopeful. But I think we all know that the Lakers are still the best team in the NBA, and no matter what, you're going to have to go through them. At least that's my belief. And I think you're going to pretty much be on board with that as my guess as well.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron's in cruise control right now, and AD, it's hard to make out exactly what he's been this season. It's somewhat disappointing, but maybe he's just in cruise control too. I do think the Nets would give him some trouble. I'm probably like if that finals matchup happened today, I'm probably going to be on the Nets as underdogs. So never want to put it past LeBron though. He's obviously the best.
Yeah, and again, I'm with you. I was just thinking that through my head. I'm like, I wonder if the Nets would be plus 300 in that series. I'd probably grab that. And it's just kind of, like you said, kind of what I'm gravitating towards because the depth of that team and defensively though, it's going to be a struggle, but.
You won't get that good a price, but like maybe plus 220 or something.
I guess it would really have to depend upon, how they come through. I mean, if
Sure.
Obviously, if the Lakers go 4-1, 4-1, 4-1 coming through, and the Nets are 6 games, 7 games, 7 games, it's going to be a little bit different. And there is kind of the deep down the worry about Durant's durability. He has been hurt a little bit. I realize he's been playing a ton of minutes and looks great now, but
well, once you get there to the finals, if he's fine, I don't think that's when you start worrying, right? Like by then, it's all right. He's there. The same thing with AD too. Like AD has apparently similar concerns with just how banged up he's been. But again, that's more likely to be him on cruise control. But we'll see. I like the Sixers bet. I saw them at 20-1 at one point. And that was a little bit tempting. I didn't end up pulling the trigger. I felt good about the bets that I have, and if I were to make one, I think that I would have backed you there.
Well, let's hope so. All right. So, last betting topic we have to talk about. Of course, originally we were on the Number Bet Number Ball podcast every week. We broke down the games against the spread. You know, when there's 16 games, that can take a while, but there is one. We're down to only one game, the most important game. And I'm going to confess that I immediately, as soon as the line posted and I saw Kansas City -3 at flat -110, I immediately bet Kansas City. And I've wavered a little bit, but I still feel okay about it. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts on this game? And I don't know, did you look at your computer model? What is your computer model saying about this? Did you consider that? Did you kind of run through that? Overall, what are your thoughts on this huge game?
Haven't run the model, but I'm pretty sure it's going to like Kansas City. I think that I'm pretty confident that Kansas City will win. If you give me the hook and I get 3.5 with Tampa, that's where it'd be a little bit tempting. But ultimately, would you rather bet on Brady and the Bucks or Mahomes and the Chiefs? For me, the answer is very easily Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like, I know that there's some Brady love out there, and like uh the history with how many times he's pulled off and everything, but come on, like, this is not even close when we're talking about talent. And the only edge that Tampa Bay really has is their defense. And it's just like, I'm sorry, I'm not one of the old school guys that's like, oh yeah, defense wins championships. And yeah, give me the coach, give me the best quarterback, give me like major edges in the coaching and the quarterback, and then the offensive playmakers are fairly even, but I still got to give the edge to KC there.
I'm in agreement with you. Ran the computer model on my end, and it came up Tampa Bay -1. And I was kind of surprised by that. I guess that's probably because of the defense and the fact that Kansas City was in cruise control a lot of the time. And that's even with waiting the second half of the season a little bit more. But there is no way, shape, or form I would ever back the Bucks in this game. I can't do it. Everything you just laid out is the exact reason. Best quarterback, great coach, time to prepare. The only hesitation is the Kansas City offensive line issues. Okay, I will give you that. Is there any way that Kansas City doesn't drop 28 points in this game? It seems to block that they're going to be 28-35 and kind of in that realm. I don't know how Tampa Bay keeps up with them. And yes, Kansas City's notoriously been a slow starter. That's fine. So is Tampa. There's a history of Brady in Super Bowls, and their offense is putting up 0, 0, 0, 3 in the first quarter. If this game's 0-0 at the end of the first quarter, I'm going to be live betting so much on the Chiefs that I'm going to get myself in trouble if it ends up going the wrong direction and Mahomes gets hurt or something. It just feels like the correct spot. It feels like the side that I want to be on. And like you said, when the game starts, do I want to look down and be like, oh, I bet the 43-year-old, or I bet the guy who's probably the most talented quarterback in the history of playing the game?
Really, though, I mean, Mahomes is going to go down as the best quarterback of all time, and you don't want to take the guy that was the best, maybe, but not even because of his own talent, really. Like, a lot of that to do. I mean, I don't want to get into like a Brady's great, right? I don't want to like disparage his name at all or anything. Just don't take the has-been. Take the guy who is, right? And just even think about what you talked about with the scoring and the points, and like the Bucks have a solid defense, but they play in a ton of shootouts still. All right, like who in a shootout is going to be favored in this? It's not even close. I would think people would all agree Mahomes and the Chiefs here, right? So I think that there are correlation opportunities. If you want to bet Brady, you're betting a low scoring game. In my opinion, that's the only way that he wins. So Bucks in the under if you like the Bucks, and then Chiefs. Chiefs can win either way, but would slightly on the over there.
You know, I will say around 3 years ago, I think I had the same exact rationale for why I bet on Brady against the Eagles. And probably one of the only real big Super Bowl misses I've had recently. And I was just kind of way off on that. But I can't, like you said, I can't do it. I'll 100% be on them. I've made a few, and by a few, I mean probably 10 to 20 prop bets already. I don't know if you've looked into it at all and have done any of that, but all of mine are slanted in the Kansas City getting the ball, scoring force, taking the lead, winning the game type direction. Kelsey first touchdown, Kansas City first score of the game, Kansas City score a touchdown as the first score of the game. Obviously, that kind of fits with my narrative of Kelsey. I have over on Mahomes. I have over Brady and Mahomes touchdowns combined. Like I'm just kind of moving all in here on Kansas City's going to score a bunch of points.
And you're not on the side of thinking they're going to sit on it. They're still going to be playing for points. So the only way that the KC and the over doesn't get there is if Tampa Bay's offense doesn't show up, which I think is a possibility. That's why it's not a lock that it's going to be KC and the over. If it's KC, I mean, obviously, if it's KC and the under, you're looking at something like a 30 to 10 game or something. And to me, that's really realistic.
Yeah, and again, I understand that completely, and I don't think I'm going to touch the total in this game. I think it's appropriately where it should be at like the 56.5 point kind of number. And like I said, smart coach, he knows they're going to struggle to run the ball. He knows it's going to be difficult. So I think he's going to do things to kind of set that up and do things differently. Short passes, a lot of screens, dump offs to running backs, things they've kind of gotten away from. I see Tyreek Hill having a lot of shorter catches. Obviously, Kelsey's going to end up with a bunch of catches too. It just feels like Kansas City puts their foot to the floor and kind of pushes their way through and just gets a bunch of points. And I, like you said, I do think there's a world where the Tampa Bay offense doesn't quite show up here, and this is kind of all of a sudden it's 14-0 Kansas City with 11 minutes ago in the second quarter, and everybody's like, what happened to this Tom Brady thing? And are people going to be tuning in for the second half? So, obviously bettors will be, but like that's kind of the side that I'm leaning on too. And I'm going to have a full breakdown on wintheweekends.com of all of my prop bets, everything, and of course all of the odds boosts that are available on all the major legal sites. And oddly enough, some of them haven't posted anything yet. I don't understand.
You can get close to 4-1 on minus 14.5.
I definitely looked at that. There's also some other things that look like it's a possible. I think it's 7-14, paid like plus 350 if you really wanted to, kind of look at it in that range. And there were some of those that I kind of toyed with, and I was kind of looking through. But the best bet that I have seen thus far, something that I feel like there's a lot of ways the game script goes, but something that I thought looked so good was DraftKings had Kelsey, Hill, Godwin, and Evans, all four to have 55 or more receiving yards, plus 400. Now, each person's prop, Kelsey and Hill's props are well over 80 each. Godwin's and Evans, I think the lowest one was 63. So there is a little bit of danger there. But I was looking at this, and even if I parlayed them on different sites, tried to do different things, I couldn't get it any higher than like plus 240. And I was like, that seems pretty good. Now, am I foolish here thinking, like we did say Tampa Bay's offense could not show up, but in what game script do those players all not get 55 receiving yards?
What were the players again? What needs to happen?
Kelsey, Hill, Godwin, and Evans. Everybody 55 plus receiving yards.
Yeah, I mean that'll happen more often than you think, because like one guy could have 180 receiving yards, right? Like I mean we see it with the Chiefs with both offenses sometimes, especially with the Bucks where they've got 3 or 4 guys that can have the big game. But I think it is more likely to come on the either Evans or Godwin screwing you in that bet. What are the odds? What did you say?
Plus 400. I don't know.
Plus 400 that they do it.
Yeah, all 4 of them. I looked at it and I kind of made it like plus 220, plus 230 in my mind. So I thought it was like pretty advantageous. And I was like, all right, I did it. It's one of the things I've already fired on. Like I said, everything kind of going with the leaning into Kansas City scoring a bunch of points and winning, and the ascension of Patrick Mahomes as the future and current player that we're all looking at as the Tom Brady coming for all of his records.
Yeah, it's not exactly like a 4-team parlay, but it's close is the problem, right? Like it's that's you're not getting paid enough if it's a 14 parlay, because it's like with the median projections for guys, it's like a lot of times going to be quite a bit below or quite a bit over. It's not like it's going to land within 5 yards all the time or anything, or 10 yards. So I'd have to look at that a bit more, but just thinking about it as a 14 parlay makes me think the odds aren't good enough.
Yeah, and that's with some of these, it's hard to kind of look at it and decide what you're thinking. If can you parlay these on other sites? Can you kind of move the number? Can you take alternate lines and try to get yourself more of a number, which don't always exist? And I don't think bettors are smart enough or sophisticated enough to even do that a lot of the times. And trying to wade through all of these, and it's cumbersome. Have you bet anything on the Super Bowl at this point?
No, I probably will, but I think I teased this in an episode we did in the playoffs, where it's like, man, rather than bet Mahomes to win MVP, like bet him just to buy his card, like buy his rookie card. You don't get zero if he loses, and he's going to go up a bit if he wins. So that's more so what I've done. I've bought about four Tom Brady rookies this past 2 weeks or so, because those are, again, you're just buying the best players. Brady and Mahomes they're not bad buys regardless of the result that happens in the Super Bowl. Long term, they're going to go up, I believe. I mean, if you believe the market's going up, they're very clearly going up. So a lot of room for Brady and Mahomes to go up, and might just put the money into that, just because there's so much more upside right now in cards than anything else. I've talked to you in Slack and everything about like the prices of the Jordans and everything, how they're going up just in insane amounts, and like big dollar, like raw, like gross dollar levels too. Talking about cards going from being worth 20,000 to 200,000 in the span of a couple months, and it's just exciting if you still think this is the floor.
And I think that's great advice. And so I think that is a fantastic natural spot to kind of wrap up here. We're saying bet Kansas City, back it up by betting on Patrick Mahomes cards. If you listen and pay attention to this whole thing, some rookies, some graded ones, make sure they're not fakes, as we've learned, because that is a thing that exists too, and I would have never thought of. But I want to thank you, Jeff, for coming on here. And of course, everybody should go and subscribe to numberball.com for all of your daily fantasy needs. It's helped me tremendously. I enjoy being part of the team. And without the projections, I think in NBA and Jeff's rundown, you need to be doing something, or you're going to be flying blind, and you're going to be kind of hurting a little bit. So thank you, Jeff, for coming.
Thanks, man. It's been fun.
And that is all. And we'll have more on wintheweekends.com as we kind of break down all of the odds boosts, and I'll have all of the props that I'm betting posted later on this week. And until then, let's continue to build the pile and hopefully make some more money. Thanks.